Forbear, Lucius. Catch me naked in my pretense, and you'll unleash more bitter honesty than I or you can bear for supper.
Have I the leash? I'll take the lashing, since you feign walking yourself like a trained dog. And have I not been dogged in all this?
So, let me speak then. Do not lead me on. What may I confess that I must not ask your mercy straight after, for you know I am ever indebted to you.
Stay thine own execution, Valentine. I only jest. I know you love the lady.
Aye, as much as it pains me to say, I will say it pains me more to conceal. For I have tried bearing it deep in that oubliette of her heart, but it echoes like a prisoner talking in their sleep, and you laugh at my plight like a jailer.
Come, brother, friend, and the most sick for love I've ever known. I am obliged to see to the lady, and have I returned her kindness with kindness? Aye, but thou know'st my father, and know'st I cannot bear his suspicious eye. But I will remove suspense to tell you that I haven't eye for the lady. And I have eye enough to see thou art blind but for hers, the fair Countess Renalta. So peace! And as I drink at the relief on your sweet face, I have come to see that you must accompany me, and that we will find a way to present me most abominably, and you in sharpest contrast, to make the lady see thee for all thy sweet parts, as much as she will reconsider mine own bad ones.
I wouldn't have you abominable for all the northernmost snow in the world, and you shouldn't risk your father's displeasure.
My father is in Milan, and will be long after the Countess has given audience. Do you doubt my cunning?
Never, but...
Then let our lingus fly. Avaunt, dear Valentine. You have as much heart, and I have mind enough, to make a marriage that will block out the tired proclamations of my rival, Duke Osterio, and his ceremonies inevitable. Wouldn't it be outstanding to burn his whole band of rat-catchers while celebrating my best friend's marriage to the woman he loves?
Outstanding, if the dear Countess has 1/10 interest in my looks as thou hast cunning.
Let's stop there, lads.
There? We're almost at the end, Will.
I know. Blast. Ever so sorry. But I've given it a look and a listen. You are both suited and would rise well past its occasion, but, we'll work on the two gents of Verona, after all right? Dracunin, you'll still have a part, I promise. I think I'll borrow some names from this one. Anyhow, perhaps it'll be for later. I'm ragged from lack of sleep. Burbie, will you take these papers with and tuck them? Don't let it bother you overmuch. He always does this. Builds up the confidence of newer actors and then pulls the rug. I would have told you, but it's always like this when he has a run at finishing a play in a mad dash weekend. Every time I believe he might actually do it, so I didn't want to give up the possibility, however slim.
It's all right. Well, I suppose it's a comfort to know it's happened before.
Sure. Once at least. I'll buy the first round at the Old George, all right?
I'll meet you there. I have a quick errand I have to. Since we're thrown out the rest. What a shame.
Really? Don't take it personally. I thought you did very well. It's just, it wasn't meant to be.
I felt his presence following me before I cared to properly notice. There were soft pink clouds low in horizon above a willowy gash at the bank of the Thames. Like I did from time to time, I asked myself about the future. Sometimes I had a glimpse, like an estimation, an unconscious calculation of how far we'd come and where we would undoubtedly be headed. Will and his boys made these musings more hopeful, as much as his rejection simply stung. I was ever in awe, maybe something closer to being in rapture with the way he saw the world, mostly in his tragedies and histories, though they had pegged me a comedian somehow. He took man as he was, in their trappings pitiful and predictable, and with a dimensionality found a kind of forgiveness, aesthetic in nature for the most sinister, the most twisted character among us. If I could encompass his art, it would be this: all are welcome. Also, not only in his plays, but at his plays. The groundlings, as they were called, penetrated by his wicked wordplay just as they were stupefied by his tender analogies. Still, they waded through the muck of their misunderstanding in ever so small iambic steps, closer and closer to the lip of the stage, until they were looking up slack-jawed at the heavens. And the courtiers above, in counterpoint, they would sway, controlled nod and smile, and then with a knee clap, tip back in laughter undignified, by recognition of a clever historical rumor that they thought only their learned selves knew. Shakespeare's humility was masterful, both high and low as above, so below, skillfully stitched together by the most threadbare melody of the human voice, by harmonious agreement that made society not only a recommendable state, but almost beloved, at least, in the holy moment of performance, despite the jagged evidence that lay outside the promise of that hallowed round. I came around a bend from the populated parts and felt his presence, but tried to ignore the feeling it brought. I didn't have any other way of expressing it, but I had been feeling much more human of late. What I meant by that I didn't know, more amenable to the mysteries of mortality, to the idea that something or someone could make me stay, perhaps sacrifice a piece of my safety for something else. These were all abstract thoughts. Funny how he appeared just when I was almost ready to cross another boundary. The grey cat's tail outlined the coming darkness like a question mark. He disappeared when I got a little closer. Before looking back, I looked to my side at some ruffians pushing a pleading younger man for sick pleasure. I had grown adept at keeping myself on the path, so I ignored his plight, telling myself I was like an observer who didn't understand the customs of this land, despite my persistence at fitting in. How much work I'd done on my accent. I sighed, and instead of making my way back on the outskirts of town where my errand awaited, I followed the path down to the river, down where a willow tree was come hithering in the breeze. Grease sat with his back to me. He was holding a cane he had now somehow. It was capped in silver by what looked like a dragon's head. There was also a smokestack 10 paces in front of him, comfortingly crackling. How did the transformational magic work? Did the cat walk through a sliver of the physical world and a man walk back out another? As I recall being told, if we were witness to it, we would immediately forget it after the fact. I have no memory in any case. Another memory gone. You took long to find me. Not long, no. You always leave some breadcrumbs to find in the forest. I think I know, but tell me. That visit to the theatre in Athens, the Dionysian one. There was that street person, do you remember, who turned out to be an old tragedian. We thought he was a lunatic talking to himself, but it turns out he was reciting Euripides. Huh? Handed down by old tradition. Presumably, you told me that since you knew Greek, I very little, but you may not have noticed you were doing so, but I saw you mouthing the words as he came to his climax. He looked you, not me, in the eye as he finished, and I saw you were changed, imperceptibly almost, like your origin was consumed by a light. I know how you hate being seen, briefly as it were. I felt in that moment you would take your departure, but it took me a long time to make such an obvious connection about where you might be. I made a few false starts, but this bard of YVEN has built a reputation, and reputation is intoxicating to you, no? Dracunen. You tease. As much as I've tried, I'm far down the ranks. They find my way of speaking comedic, I think. It's my accent's doing. And yet you continue to strive to deny your nature. I find that admirable. Despite what you think I think of you, I saw those men pushing that boy. The old you would have taken it as an invitation to dinner. The men, not the boy, I mean, of course. I deny nothing, ultimately, Gray. I'm simply biding some time, as we all do. You haven't lived as long as I, you know, despite your learned cynicism. Our world has longer seasons, and they must be acknowledged. I'm simply exploring a different type of sacrifice, if you like. Bree didn't like that, but he held his tongue. En tout cas, I've met someone who has something in common with you. Who is she? Did I say it was a she? But yes, it is a she, and she is very interesting. Like it or not, I think you'd be interested at least. I think you would be. If you think you can entice me with romance. She's not interested in a courtship, nor do I think you'd be compatible in that way, but I won't say any more. I just thought it would be good for you two to meet, but perhaps later. When can I see you, how do you say, play, prestidigitate, perform? I'd like nothing less, Gree, but luckily you'll have to wait a while for our next show. What is it called? The little smokestack had spread. A portion of the riverbank was now on fire. We both watched it with mild interest. The play by Monsieur Shakespeare. Shakespeare, it's called. Well, it's going to be Two Gentlemen of Verona. It would seem the title is, I think. Verona! We went there, didn't we? We would have been the two vampires of Verona. Gree didn't intend to stay, didn't intend to see the play. Still, he had expressed interest in such a way that warmed my heart. He was skilled at giving what I had always sought, being seen without judgment. We walked along the riverbank, back upriver, leaving the willow tree surrounded by flame. It wasn't long before we heard a crack of thunder, and then a simple, timeless rain. Is she a weather witch, this vampire? Huh? Gree slicked his hair back, seemed to delight at the rain. A weather witch? No, I don't think so. Why do you ask? You can come, or I'll come back maybe 6 months from now, either with her or fetch you. What do you think? Perhaps not, Gree. I'm grateful for your friendship, but I'm afraid I'm not done here. I want to give it a chance. When I've given up for good, I'll let you know. Yes, well, simply as a shame, with your talents, your God-given talents, I mean, but I understand. Not to worry, there will be other opportunities. And so, where are you off to next? To Moscow, ultimately. Why this time of year, in God's name? Not in his. Because chaos breeds opportunity, and opportunity begs for a steady hand. And despite my handicaps, I can be that, at least. I could tell you more if you came with. It's the kind of chaos you'd enjoy, all very calculated. We try to be at least 5 moves ahead, if that's what we wanted, but we keep it fun. She keeps it light. Well, that was my last essay. Not the last, surely. Fancy a drink with some actors? Well, I do fancy that, perhaps. I just don't fancy a drink with some English. That's another point of taste where we differ greatly, my friend. All this way all to chide English, but Gree, like me, loved to travel, so we didn't need to feel odd about it. He walked towards a barge that was surely headed upriver. He'd take a freighter to France and then onward for his long voyage to Moscow. The Muscovites were too close a cousin to where I began. Part of me was curious. The East was always more familiar, but with that familiarity I couldn't imagine the future being any different. And that depressed me. Memorizing Shakespeare's words buffered me to sleep. Otherwise, as much distance as I'd gotten from her, I was still occasionally plagued by the familiar traces of her control. Do you remember who you were before? I'd asked Gree before departing for England. We sat by the river, in Verona, I think, eating some bread and cheese. Before being bitten? Aye, if you don't mind me asking. No, yes, I mean, I do. Although it feels like a memory of a dream at this point, you know. I've long mourned that part of me. It is like this rind, nothing nutritious. Chewing on it is a waste of time. A memory of a dream. And yourself? Well, it was part of her magic, I think. I know part of her control. I haven't much of any memories. No, not much of any, actually none. So how can I grieve what I do not know is to the point. Thank you for answering. But of course, t'as du feu? Part of me thinks I'm seeking that part of me, unconsciously, that human part of me that was whole. But perhaps I fear finding it, fear the process of grieving, as if it would undo me somehow. You astonish me sometimes, Rakunin. He exhaled brackishly. In my experience, there are 2 kinds of vampires. There are those who ultimately like the experience of it. Immortality or the bloody business, whatever it may be, beside the point. And those who seem not to. And yet, both have been called to immortality. Perhaps I think the latter is wrestling with undoing the wrongs of the urge itself, maybe, and the first simply attempting to make the most of it. I'm not sure, of course. Yes, well, I know which you are, and I suppose I'm the other one. Ah, that's where you are a mystery to me. On the surface you would seem to be, yes, but as much as I had to twist you to get you here, as soon as I ask a question pertinent to the task at hand, what you have an answer. Your mind cannot give up the game. Hate it or love it. What choice do we have, Dracunin? Our pain seeks to know itself. Truth, the ultimate predator. Theirs and their knowledge, limited by their mortality, but we can stay ahead of the game, even if we know we ultimately won't win. Yes, and that's where we disagree, the immutability of fate. Because you had yours taken away. Didn't we all? Yes. Why would you see it that way? Inside of you, my friend, is screaming, a being that craves goodness, but it is that goodness that is also near fanaticism, don't you see? It's too afraid of the dark. Because you've drowned in the deepest waters, you refuse a cup to drink. Every antidote is in part a poison. Well, when have you known me to refuse a cup? Yes, that is why you are a contradiction. But I think you play at contradiction instead of accepting it is who you are, who we all are. I think I do sometimes accept. With you. I understand. Not everyone deserves us, my friend. You think because I get along with people that I am not guarded. I'm very guarded. Perhaps more than you. I sat in the galleries watching Will and the others rehearse. My parts were going to be tagged later on. I'd already dedicated them to memory. I had to hide the fact that I could do so rapidly so as not to intimidate. How poor a memory, how adept at memorization. Another contradiction. But it would not have made the difference. Other than the fact that they had enough players, I knew the suspicion they regarded me. I knew they would trust me only so far. I listened to a particular speech and found myself mouthing it.
The more thou damp'st it up, the more it burns, the current that with gentle murmur glides. Thou know'st, being stopped, impatiently doth rage. But when his fair course is not hindered, he makes sweet music with the enamelled stones. Giving a gentle kiss to every sedge, he overtaketh in his pilgrimage. And so by many winding nooks he strays, with willing sport to the wild ocean. Then let me go, and hinder not my course. I'll be as patient as a gentle stream, and make a pastime of each weary step, till the last step have brought me to my love. And there I'll rest, as after much turmoil, a blessed soul doth in Elysium.